Hello everyone, you welcome to this edition of The Inside. I am Bable Jonathan. Today we are making sense of the relationship between wealth, human behavior, emotional intelligence, and decision making. Wealth, human behavior, and of course emotional intelligence and decision making are powerful forces shaping everyday life. Wealth provides opportunities. Wealth provides access to opportunities such as education, healthcare, and security. But how people manage and use wealth depends greatly on their behavior and choices. Human behavior influences relationships, work ethics, and social interactions, while emotional intelligence helps individuals understand and control their emotions, leading to better communication and conflict resolution. Good decision making allows people, communities, and nations to solve problems wisely, plan for the future, and achieve growth. On the other hand, poor emotional control and careless decisions can lead to conflict, poverty, and instability. Therefore, these elements are closely connected and play an important role in building successful individuals, peaceful communities, and prosperous nations. We're unraveling all of these for you in this edition of The Inside. Stick around with us and meet our guest in some few seconds. Thank you for staying with us. Our guest today, Dylis CHI, is a Cameroonian US-based executive producer, finance leader, and transformational voice whose work bridges psychology, culture, emotional intelligence, leadership, relationships, and wealth. Known for an emotionally intelligent approach to storytelling and human transformation, Dylis combines analytical insight with creative vision in a way that is both modern and deeply human. She is also the creator and executive producer of Love Lab, a cinematic African relationship reality show that explores vulnerability, attraction, identity, and modern human connection through culturally rooted storytelling. Please join me in welcoming Dylis CHI, joining us from Surrey in the southeast of England. Dylis, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I cannot wait to dive into this conversation today.
Right, thank you for joining us in this very important conversation that has to do with everything concerning life, everyday life. Let's begin by establishing the connection between these vital elements as far as everyday life is concerned. The connection between wealth, human behavior, emotional intelligence, and decision making.
That's a good question, and thank you for asking that. There is an immense connection, and a lot of people are unaware of this connection. And so, wealth, for us to be able to create wealth in our lives, and by the way, wealth is not just about money, wealth is about living a prosperous, happy, and joyful life in a sustainable way that provides beyond your basic needs. And the connection is people that you see that are wealthy are people that have mastered or have studied and continue to study emotional intelligence. They've continued to study human psychology and their own personal psychology as well as they've continued to study human behavior, as well as relationship management. Because a lot of times we want to generate wealth, we want to be wealthy individuals, but we don't have an understanding or basic mastery of psychology, human psychology, or how we ourselves as individuals we operate. We don't have the right mindset. We don't have the ability to navigate and manage relationships. And these are vital components of creating wealth in our lives on a daily basis and also as a society as a whole.
So, if I get you clearly, wealth is much more than money, is much more than currency stored in bank accounts or wherever.
Absolutely, for sure. You know, a lot of the theories here will say to you that what is in your bank account is directly proportional to the quality of your emotions. Because if we don't have emotional intelligence, we tend to sabotage a lot. You know, when you talk about emotional intelligence, we're talking about the ability to be self-aware, which means you know your own emotions, you understand your own emotions, which means you understand when you're going to be triggered, you understand your weaknesses, you understand your insecurity, and you understand your patterns. So that way you're able to manage it in different circumstances, because life is going to happen to you. You're going to experience challenges, you're going to experience difficult people. And so when you have this level of self-awareness, which is part of emotional intelligence, you are able to handle your own emotion regardless of what is happening. And the other thing we want to throw into this conversation of emotional intelligence connected to wealth is self-control. We could call it emotional regulation. And this is a huge part that I find a lot of us really struggle with. And it's something that I have spent years and years. It's one of the main areas in my own life that I worked on a lot. It's the ability for me to control my emotions when I am being triggered, my ability to not come off of anger or fear and ego and different things. I'm reacting to people because they've done things, the ability to hold myself within myself. And so there's also another angle of it, which is empathy, ability to understand where someone else is coming from, understand their emotions, and be able to hold space and listen to them. And the next thing in emotional intelligence is communication, being able to communicate your point across to someone else without projecting or creating chaos by it. And so again, you all would know that watching and yourself, Babla, you know that communication is one of those areas that a lot of us struggle with, how to communicate. We have a good point, but we cannot communicate it across. And also the last point of emotional intelligence is relationship management, where we need to equip ourselves. We need to be able to manage the difficult times in relationship. Challenges are always going to come, whether it's romantic relationship, it's business relationship, it's normal friendship. These challenges will come. And so this is what makes up an emotionally intelligent person, someone who has mastered this aspect. And when they understand this, they understand themselves, they are able to go out in the world and face challenges and interpret things from different lenses, which will be different from people who don't have a mastery or even a basic understanding of this concept that I have listed underneath emotional intelligence. And a lot of times we are stuck in survival, in the fight or defend. I'm gonna go out there and hustle. I'm gonna go out there and see what's in it for me in the society. I'm gonna go out there and force my way to make the profit. And a lot of times we come back home month after month and we don't see what we built. Is because on the foundational level, we haven't taken the time to understand how important it is for emotional intelligence to help us connect us to the world that we go out every day to go create. To understand who we are, and we'll be able to understand our emotions. And so a lot of times if you have a deal, let's say £1 million deal that has gone through, but you go back to your team, you're erratic, you're mad, you cannot handle one misfortune, and you destroy the deal. The money at the end of the day cannot finally go into your bank account because we cannot control our emotions. So that is why emotional intelligence is very important, and it's directly connected to whether we can hold wealth in a sustainable way as individuals as well as a society.
So wealth is a combination of physical, emotional, intellectual, psychological, moral, and even spiritual abilities and values that, when put together, combined in the right manner, put to action in the right manner, produces positive impact on life.
Absolutely. I have spent many years in my life studying this, doing the work on myself, helping many people across the world, helping them make sure they understand this aspect. Because what I've seen in my work is, you see a lot of people are determined, a lot of people have the motivation, but when they go out there they work so hard, they come back home to nothing. They come back home, there's not enough money, and they will say it's not equal to how hard I work. And so for me, spirituality comes into play here as well. It's not just about going out there to work. It's not just about having the connections. Do you have what it takes to manage these relationships, to manage these connections? Do you have what it takes to make good decisions? Do you have what it takes to discern? And you cannot have good discernment if you are always impulsive, if you're always reactive, if you're always blaming people, if you're always, angry and mad and shouting and not having the ability to look at the full picture, where people should have empathy to say, you know what, wait a minute, let me try and understand this thing from this other man's point of view. Let me understand. And that is what you see when you see wealthy people around the world. Study them. I know different sections of the world, they use different things to make money, to create wealth, and people talk about dark sides of being wealthy. I don't think that's what we're talking about here in this conversation. We're talking about genuine people who are self-made, who work hard and understand that it's not just about working hard. There's a lot of other components that come into play to be able to make them a wealthy and successful people for a sustainable length of time. Everyone who is a millionaire or billionaire, their main focus is, how can I make this sustainable? And so they begin to invest in mastering how to communicate, mastering how to manage relationships. I tell my team, and I tell my friends, or I tell anyone that I meet around the world when we have conversations, I'm like, to have relationships is very easy. To meet people, new people, it's easy. But the issue is, a lot of times we are not ready to deal with conflicts in those relationships. A lot of times we are not taught, we haven't studied how to manage those difficult times that will happen in those relationships, and it's only a matter of time. And so you find out that as soon as you get into this business relationship, everything is going good. And when we start experiencing challenges, we don't know what to do. We're calling people, we're complaining, we're saying the things we're not supposed to say, we're talking to the people we're not supposed to say and talk to, and before you know it, the deal is up. Why? Because we were unable to manage difficult times in relationships that would be doorways to financial prosperity into our lives. And so for me, my main mission and my work, even around what I'm creating as the show, is to bring this conversation to the forefront so that we can have these conversations, ask the questions that we need to be asking. What would it take for us to become emotionally aware? Where do we start? And how can I study this? And what is possible if I study this? Because it will make a whole lot of difference when we begin to master this, 5 elements that I've given us today when it comes to emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-control, which is also emotional regulation, empathy, communication, and relationship management. And this will put you, and as soon as you start studying this and practicing this, you would realize, Babla, you realize that you will start attracting the different caliber of people in your life. You will attract people who are also emotionally in tune to what you're doing, who can come with you and build with you and create with you. And the people that used to be erratic and chaos driven will begin to live your life. This is how powerful this work is.
Right. So how does wealth influence lifestyle and opportunities available for individuals and communities?
Oh my God, wealth is everything. One of the things I would say, first of all, that keeps people struggling and hustling is because we don't have access to this wealthy realm dimension. And so when we don't have that access, we are constantly It's like we're swimming up against a river. But when you have tapped into wealth, you have tapped into a realm of abundance, a realm of peace, a realm of love that continues to generate not just finances for you, but those things that are the main pillar that will support you to continue to develop, to create finances. And finance is one of the things that gives people security. Everybody in the world, why are we all chasing money? Because it gives us one thing. It gives us financial, it gives us security. You know, if you have a job, you know your company is thriving, you know at the end of the month you're gonna get something. So you can plan your way, you can budget all that, you say this month I'm gonna do this, you can save this, you can donate this, you can help this person, you can take your family for holidays abroad. When you have that, you're relaxed, you're calm, and wealth would make you be healthy and also make you become even more emotionally intelligent. It's like it's a system that feeds each other. And so you become relaxed. But fast forward, someone who does not have financial security, don't know where they're gonna get money from in the month. That person is living in a defensive state. They're not calm. They're breathing hard. They're the ones that are arguing. They're the ones that want to make money by all kinds of means, even means that are against spiritual laws. And so wealth is very important. And my dream, and all of us our dreams, is to see our society becomes wealthy, prosperous, because we would enjoy more peace in our homes as families. We would enjoy more peace in our lives as individuals. And so my mission is that let's not just start with pursuing the money. Let's start with pursuing these pillars that are responsible to hold this financial flow that we want so badly, and that is emotional intelligence, because it is the pillar where your wealth is gonna be sitting on, and the wealth feeds you as you become even more emotionally intelligent to generate more money. Of course, wealth gives you peace, wealth makes you calm, wealth makes you choose different kinds of friends with different kinds of emotional states and emotional levels of intelligence, emotional intelligence. So wealth is really powerful, but it's not just the only thing we should be looking at, like just the money. Wealth is made up of being emotional intelligence and all those different things that help us have access to the abundance of money that we really want for a sustainable society and personal life as well as family life.
Right. In what ways does human behavior affect the growth of individuals, communities, and nations?
Human behavior has everything to do with our growth in society. You know, I would always, and I know people are gonna come to me for this, come at me. The government can do all what the government want to do, but if the people in the society have not thought about their behaviors, and when we talk about behaviors, we're talking about choices, we're talking about our reactions, we're talking about our decisions, we're talking about identity, connection, everything in this spectrum, how we behave, how we talk, what we choose to do, that's human behavior. And so no matter what, that's why you see people coming, sometimes they come into a lot of money and then they lose it, because the human behavior, they haven't understood themselves, how they behave, their appetite for money. You can have £1 million right now. What are you gonna spend it on? Some people will squander it and then go back to the streets. And so human behavior has a lot to do with human growth and the growth of our society and the prosperity of our society, because mainly we become aware of who we are. We tap into our power, and I'm gonna go a bit spiritual. As I say to people, we cannot make this journey here on earth by ourselves. We need a supernatural force that is out there to unite. And for me, when I know I'm in union with that force, it gives me the ability to look at my behavior. Who do I want to be in the society? Who do I want to be as Dylis, as in this relationship, in the team I'm building, as making a contribution for the country, for the nation? Who do I want to be? What are my choices? What are the consequences of my choices? What are the consequences of my decisions? How do I react? And how do I behave to people? All of that has everything to do with how our society is growing or not growing. And again, the government can do so much, but if the behavior of people is not evolving, the government, if it would be pouring water or not pouring money, or pouring money or not pouring money into a bottomless pit. And so I am a non-political person. You know, from time to time I'll lend my voice to politics, but I believe in empowerment. I believe in us taking back our power and not give it to the government. Take back your power and self-make yourself. There is a way that individuals in a society can motivate themselves and develop themselves beyond their government, and I'm saying this carefully because I can trigger a lot of people that have blamed the government for everything. But I am really wanting to offer us another perspective, that take your eyes off the government and put it on the potential, on the power that you have as a human being, and break that potential open. Allow your mind to think, and don't ask how it's going to happen. Start working on your emotions. Start working on the connection. How can you grow beyond the cycle that you have right now? How can you grow beyond the 5 people closest to you right now? Do you look for mentors? Look for coaches that will challenge your attitude, your behavior, your character. Because at the end of the day, wealth is going to be built on your character, not just on who you know. Because if you don't have emotional intelligence, you would not be able to sustain this very important connection. And so for me, human behavior has everything to do with the evolution of us as individuals and evolution as society and as a nation. And that is why I am saying kudos to all those institutions that are empowering individuals to go out there and make the world a different place with their skills, with their talents. And you don't take no until you push those doors open, you prepare, you train yourself, you practice your skills when nobody is looking, because you want to master. When you show up when it matters, they would not be able to turn you down, and because you've done the work. And so it has everything to do with the wealth of our society, even as a nation.
Right, we need God to be able to navigate through life in a successful way. And you also said that the people should make good use of their sovereign power to bring about the growth that they need, to bring about success, to bring about change in their living situations. Now, tell us about the importance of emotional intelligence in leadership and everyday relationships.
Wow, that is $1 million question. And when you ask that, I am thinking about myself, the challenge as a leader who is in a creative space, leading wildly creative individuals who are so talented in what they do. You need to be so emotionally intelligent to lead people. I have been doing a lot of studies since I have been creating something in Cameroon. And I have gone back in history, even through colonial days. It's so interesting how we can get programmed just by our environment and from one generation to another. And it's easy for new generation leaders to copy or absorb what the prior generation of leaders are doing. But I am challenging this generation. I am challenging the millennials. I'm challenging the Gen Zs, whatever generation, even the one before millennials, that take a look at yourself and begin to examine, how can I do something different? How can I develop my emotions in a way that can stay calm? And one of my mentors is Nelson Mandela. You know, we all know the story. But when he was in prison, he came face to face with himself. And Nelson Mandela, this powerful activist that was so hot-headed, you know, he would go out there and do this. But when he was put in prison, he began to cool down. He came face to face with what we call emotional intelligence. Began to study himself, even with studying and reading politics around the world and different things. But one of the things I know he dealt with was himself. He became so calm that when he came out of prison, he was talking about something very opposite: reconciliation and peace. It takes someone that has tapped into emotional intelligence to be able to lead nowadays with everything that is the world is not the same like it was 10 years ago. And remember when we were growing up in Cameroon was, you know, I can't even recognize it anymore. And as everything is growing and becoming, you know, chaotic, so is our emotions. And so we need to be very intentional as leaders to check our mindset to make sure we're not subconsciously repeating what the prior generation is doing, to make sure we are coming in an opposite spirit. We tapping to become so emotionally intelligent. You know, you walk in a room, you see the calmest man in the room who is going to say a few words is the man with the most power in the room. They're so calm and they are deep thinkers. They don't want to talk. They don't want to prove themselves. They're not insecure about who they are. They don't need a title to lead. You know, I read one of Nelson Mandela's book. Nelson Mandela said there were times he was leading from the back. Real leaders, you don't need a title. If you are emotionally intelligent, you will be able to walk in a room and control the room from the back, and you don't need to be seen and to be announced. And that, for me, is what I am crying out for these leaders, young generation leaders, to begin to look at themselves and choose to become emotionally intelligent, so they are calm, they are deep thinkers, they can see and have empathetic, they understand human conditions, they understand suffering, and they can speak into it in a measured way. In the book I was reading of Nelson Mandela, one of the things he said was how scarce a mature man is nowadays. And I'm afraid that that is what is happening. It's not enough for you to have a mission. It's not enough for you to be an activist. Be an activist that is emotionally matured. Be an activist that can carry calmness in your body in a way that when other people come in your presence, they experience calm. When Nelson Mandela walked out of the prison and began to say different things opposite, he recalibrated an entire race of people because of his calibration in deep emotional intelligence. And that is my cry for this generation. Let's tap into it. It's going to pay us, it's going to support us even as leaders, because we are the leaders that we are looking for. We are the leaders that we are waiting to come through. You are the leader that you're waiting for. And it's worth it to begin to look deep down and handle your own emotions, so that wherever you go, you calibrate people into calm, into hope, into peace, into empowerment, and into motivation. When people leave you as that kind of leader, they know they can go out and do anything in the world. They will become unstoppable. And that's why a lot of us are defeated, because we don't have access to that level of emotional intelligence.
Now, having established the fact that wealth is much more than money, wealth is a combination of physical, emotional, behavioral, moral, and even spiritual and intellectual values and capacities. Can a wealthy man, can a wealthy person still make poor or wrong decisions? Why or why not?
Yeah, for sure. A wealthy man would make a wrong decision. And that's because, like your question said, wealth is made up of so many components. So this wealthy man would be able to manage their emotions, but they don't know how to manage relationships. And so when conflicts happen, they sabotage the relationship, insult people, turn the table around, walk away because they have money. And so if you would talk to wealthy people, they would have understood that that kind of behavior does not make their wealth sustainable. As a matter of fact, if you do that 10 times in a year or 10 times in a month, you're going to become concerned for yourself because you're destroying every relationship. And one of the things, Babla, is we have to understand that you cannot make money being an island. For you to be able to become prosperous financially, you need business deals, you need networks, you need people in your life. And so managing relationship is one of the most important skills every human, as a matter of fact, this should be taught in schools. Honestly, how to manage relationship. And you see, when we grow up, even in marriages, we find it challenging because the only time that we really have to deal with relationship is in marriage, and we are making a mess of it, you know. Wealth is a combination of things, and if a wealthy man has one of them and doesn't have the other components, they didn't know that they have a gap. And one thing about these wealthy men is self-made, is they're gonna start studying. They will begin to develop themselves. They will begin to empower themselves. They will hire coaches. They will hire mentors. You know, wealthy people, how they got the wealth is because they pay mentors money to teach them not just how to make the money, but to teach them who to become, who to be, how to manage relationships, how to manage emotions so they can continue to carry it. And so you find that a lot of them have mentors, they have coaches for everything. They have coaches for their emotions, they have mindset coach, they have health coach. It's because you need all these components to be able to have sustainable, wealthy life for your family. Otherwise, you're going to become bankrupt. Otherwise, you're going to lose the money at some point, and we've seen that again and again in our society. You go out there, you have this big deal, in 6 months you lose it. These are the reasons what we're talking about here in this interview. These are some of the reasons why we lose the money, and then we go back again and start from scratch. So, of course, a wealthy man can lose the money. A wealthy man who is mastering this aspect will make even more money because they are mastering all these components that makes up wealth.
These are some of the ideas running through Love Lab, the cinematic African reality show that explores vulnerability, attraction, identity, and modern human connection through culturally rooted storytelling. You are the founder and executive producer of Love Lab, and you're going to tell us more about that when we come back from this short break. Time for us to go to the newsstands, and we're looking at what the newspapers reported this week. This is the press review. We'll be right back in a moment. The post-population census in jaws of several drawbacks. The paper reports that the fourth population, housing, agriculture and livestock census that started last April 24 is being hampered by manifold drawbacks that cast a shadow of doubt as to whether the objectives of such an exercise will be attained. The timing of the exercise during the rainy season, experts say, is a major setback. The Guardian Post, decentralization. Experts say local tax reforms will boost revenue of councils. Insist recent reforms powering, not suffocating, regional and local authorities. Contrary to these, financial expert and politician Louis-Marie Cagde says Cameroon's decentralization more centralized than decentralized. Newsreel reports that the implementation of Cameroon's decentralization policy has once again sparked debate following the signing of a joint order on May 15, 2026, establishing local tax monitoring units with regional and local authorities, while government officials present the measure as a means of improving transparency and boosting local revenue collection. Critics argue that It further centralizes powers that should belong to local councils. Municipal update highlights government's plan to invest 3.5 billion francs CFA to train young entrepreneurs in the Northwest region. Cameroon Tribune and Cameroon Insider underscore what they qualify as the frontline role of First Lady Chantal Biya in the promotion of fashion designing through the 17th edition of the Fashion, Design and Craft Forum of Cameroon. In another news article, Cameroon Insider says 20,000 Central African refugees seek return home. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paula Tanganji, and the representative of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Cameroon, Yvette Muhimpundu, discussed modalities for their safe voluntary repatriation during a meeting in Yaoundé on May 29, 2026. The Sun, the SDF revamp is on. Party sends clear defiant message after May 20, 36th anniversary show of strength. SDF chairman OC announces launch of campaign locomotive for electoral success. The Advocate, Minister Mengot, hails Manyo Women's Social and Development Association at 50th anniversary. Plan International Cameroon launches school canteen project in university. Right, you welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We are still with our guest, Dylis CHI, a Cameroonian UK-based executive producer, finance leader, author, and transformational voice, whose work bridges psychology, culture, emotional intelligence, leadership, relationships, and wealth. And she's joining us from Surrey in the east of England, in the southeast of England. Dylis CHI, tell us more about the issue of emotional intelligence. Better still, let's talk about how emotional intelligence helps people manage conflicts and challenges effectively.
Oh my goodness. Listen, we can talk about this from now to next week because, you know, as a human being, one of the most important skills to have is the ability to handle conflict in relationship, because we all would experience relationship conflict. It's just a matter of when. And so when we don't understand how to deal with this conflict, a lot of times, Babla, you see, I don't know if you've experienced it in your own life, but I have. A lot of time, I started off by any little conflict, I want to run away. If you get what I mean. Like every little conflict, I'm walking away from that relationship. I don't care what that relationship is. It could be a business relationship, it could be a romantic relationship or family relationship. But after a while, you get tired of running. And you say there's got to be more to this. And I started looking into my own self. How can I understand how to deal with conflict? Because you would always have conflict in relationship. And so it is so important. It's so important that we go into relationships, Babylon, with the understanding that conflict would happen, but what tools am I bringing into this connection that will help me when we have conflict? A lot of times we don't think like that. And so again, you'll see it in the show where young men are being self-aware of their own emotions, which is very difficult when it comes to Africa culture. You know, we just want to hide. And I promise you, that is why there is a lot of conflicts, especially from the angle of men. Men don't know how to be emotional because they're growing up being told, you are a man, don't cry. You are a man, stop being emotional. And that is where our problem came from with men and relationship management. And so for me, one of the things that we're doing with the show is seeing how young men are in touch with their own pain, with their own emotion, owning it, but telling an empowered story through that experience. And so emotional intelligence, it's so powerful. It's very transformational in relationship. If I go into a relationship when I've already thought about Dylis, how would you handle the difficult times in this relationship? What tools, what mindset, what emotional states? How deep is the peace you're going to bring into this relationship? How deep is the patience you're going to bring into this relationship? Can you listen to someone else? Do you have empathy? Are you going to bring kindness? Can you hold space for someone else to explain their point of view without interrupting them, without wanting to project your own thoughts to them? Can you sit and listen to them, talk about their pain, even if it has to do with you as the cause? Can you hold space? And then after that, because you are so ready to heal that relationship, you are so emotionally intelligent, you say to the relationship, you say to the person, I am sorry you feel that way. I didn't know my actions made you that hurt. I'm sorry my actions made you feel that way. And why do I want to apologize? Because you don't understand how your actions is going to make somebody else feel. And it's not enough for us to be defensive to say, I didn't do that, I don't want to hurt you or this. No, listen to them. Listen to their point of view. Listen to why they were hurt because of your behavior and offer an apology, and a genuine one. You say, I'm so sorry my actions made you feel that way. It was not my intention at all. And I'm sorry that it made you feel that way. I won't do it again. How can I help you move from this space to that space? That's emotional intelligence in relationships. Right. Not even just in marriage, but as a human being in living in a society. If we begin to offer this to each other, I promise you, prosperity will break out in our society in a way that we will not believe it.
All right, Dylis, let me open a little bracket and quickly close it. But before I do that, I would just want to have your comments on this issue about, men crying. Because this is an issue that is difficult to understand or to be accepted by many within the African context. Till today, I still hear my wife telling my son, who is less than 1 year old, men don't cry. She says that every now and then, men don't cry. And let me put this to you. Should men cry? Should they express their feelings, that feeling of wanting to cry or something?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me that question. I think this is one of the most important questions you've asked me so far. I have my nephew, such a brilliant, beautiful young man. And of course, he's my nephew. I've told my sisters, my family, let him cry if he wants to cry. When I go around him, I speak life. I say, you are a leader. You will lead this country, but you will lead it with vulnerability. He is he's so in touch with his emotion. He's so empathetic. When we go, I take them out. He will look after his younger nieces, his younger siblings. He will stand up and give the cheer when we are going out visiting places. He will give the cheer to his younger sister. He will stand up and let his younger sister sit down. And he will cry for his younger sister. He will cry for, things that are happening. And I am encouraging that, Babla, because that is how a leader is born. A man who is in touch with the emotions, but also know how to not let it come out, know how to channel it into a cause, into a movement. A man who knows how to look at the brokenness around and say, something is wrong with this and it makes me cry at home. That is the leaders of tomorrow. And I tell my nephew, because I can see the traits, they are very emotional, but if the parents don't allow them to tap into that level, it becomes blunt. And they grow being different, but stifled. And now they become secured. Because that thing in them, that unique gift, can only be expressed once they touch their emotion. Let me say this to us, and even those that are watching me from the church and others, your emotions is the most powerful thing. And listen, there is a scripture in Jeremiah, Babla. It says where Jeremiah has prophesied over, come back from your wicked ways, and come back from your wicked ways, and there was no way. Guess what Jeremiah did? Jeremiah said, call me the travailing women. Call me the women who know how to release emotion. I don't play with emotion. how emotionally mature you are is directly proportional to the amount of money that is going to be sitting in your bank account day after day after day, because you can mess it up. If you're erratic, money leaves your account. If you are composed, you're calm, you're deep, money increases, because everything rises and falls at the level. Emotion vibe is vibration, it's your frequency. And so if our young people, for me, I let my nephew tap into his emotions because that's about it. I'm a very emotional person because I let all my emotions come out. I would tell my client, feel everything you need to feel. Feel the fear, feel the joy, feel the excitement. Open your body. Allow yourself to feel all the emotions, because energy is money and it's emotions. And so, men, please cry when you need to cry. And I am calling on women to create safe spaces. Even on my show, you would see men crying, but when they finish, they get up out of that. Something powerful is birthed out of them. And Babylon, I'm going to say this before I finish answering this question. When we cry, we begin to dissolve negative emotions. That's how we dissolve fear. That's how we dissolve anxiety. Let me ask men, if you are not crying, how are you managing anxiety with all the expectation that is on your shoulders? How are you healing from the past hurt 5 years ago, everything you've been through 5 years ago? How have you processed it? How have you released it out of your body, because you're still carrying it? How has it come out of your body? How, if it's not through tears, if it's not, it's sitting in your body, and you guys become resentful towards women, towards the society, and you're unable to hold money and wealth because you don't know how to let go of these heavy, heavy emotions you've been carrying, maybe since childhood. And so I'm advocating, women, let's create safe spaces for our men to break down and cry and dissolve the emotions, the fear that a man will never tell you they're afraid. A man will never tell you they're anxious. A man will never tell you this. And sometimes they go hide and cry. But we want to create more spaces where women can lay their hands on their men and give them permission to cry and process the fear, the emotions that they would never talk about. And we hold more spaces and cover them and respect them and love them through that process, and raise our young men to be men that are able to tap into their emotions and know it's okay to cry, and rise up and become a different human being after you have cried. I believe our greatest leaders that are men are those that are tapping into that full spectrum of emotion. Look at Obama. Obama will give a speech and he will wipe a tear. Come on now, Babla.
Right, it is scientifically proven that crying is a therapy. But Dylis, you know that in Africa, crying, a man crying is still very much considered as a taboo, as a sign of weakness, as a shame. We saw a divisional officer in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, crying in a situation of protest, where women came out to protest against the sexual abuse of a child of less than 3 years old. And the DO, the divisional officer who came out to intervene as the administrative officer competent in the area, we saw him crying in public. And while others are saying that this is a sign that he is really touched, he's feeling the pains of the people, he's feeling the pains of that child who has been sexually abused, others are seeing him as a weak administrator.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you see a leader, that's why we want to put Love Lap on the screen, so people will see young men crying, and we give Babla, we give them permission to cry as well. When you see that official, government official, wipe a tear, he gives every other man in that country, he gives every other leader who is a male leader in that country to say it's okay to weep. It's okay to feel the pain and show people that I am feeling. That's the highest level of empathy. That is the highest level. And Babla, if you look at African society today, it's built, I'm not a patriarchic person, but it's built on the male, the dominant male. And if these male are not feeling empathy in a way that they're crying as human beings. That's why the continent is where it is right now. That's why power is being traded like it's in the stock market. That's why there's dictatorship. That's why there's control. That's why young people are learning that power is control. When you do everything to get power, to get titles, so you can control the people around you. Why? Because we grew up understanding that you don't cry, you numb yourself, and you make people suffer. And we've seen what that kind of leadership is doing in Africa. But when you see leaders, men, who are in office, resonating to the pain of a family, pain of a nation, of a society, I promise you, something happened in the whole of the nation that watches that. You recalibrate the entire nation. You give the nation permission to be human beings again. And only when we drop into that vibration to be fully human, we will not be able to see prosperity. The churches are going to pray prosperity. The government is going to try what it may, mix it with dictation and control or whatever. We will not see anything shift in our society until we see men that are emotionally intelligent, men that are powerful men, wealthy men that transact in power, unbelievable power, but yet very human enough to cry in front of our screen and let the people know that I see you. I feel your pain. I, as a leader, I will stop nothing to make sure each and every child in that country is emotionally safe and protected. That is what that year was about. And I am praying for a day when we will build on men and leaders like this, that will not go with long speeches, that will stand in front of pulpits crying because they're telling their people, I feel what you feel. And now tell me, a leader who does that, what would happen in that kind of society? There is prosperity because people feel emotionally safe. People feel emotionally safe, there's prosperity. One of the reasons we have crack and poverty and these is because we're not emotionally safe. Everybody's guarded, everybody's running. Is government coming? Is this one coming? Is somebody coming to get me? You are not available to create wealth. And so I am asking us to give permission, like that official did. Man, go on the screen, journalists, if you are reading news and it's so pathetic and hand-wrenching, show us on the screen what it means to be a journalist, a powerful, good journalist, but a human one at that. Let the people watching you relate to you and know that you see them in terms of how you are crying, allowing tears to come through. And you see how our work as individuals is going to shape the society. It's not just the government that will do it. We are the leaders that we are waiting for. And it begins with how we manage our emotions. It's the most powerful tool that we have.
No matter how powerful we may be, we remain humans, and we are expected to have emotions, to express the emotions, to feel what other persons around us are feeling, and so on. But there is another concern about this issue of men crying. The concern is about the fact or the idea that a man crying in a family, for example, can weaken those who are already considered weak, or the vulnerable, can give a sense of despair, a sense of hopelessness in a situation where the man is generally called up to be the hero, to be the one giving courage or encouraging others. But from what we have been saying now, that is not absolutely true, because sending out emotions, expressing your emotions will rather bring the people together, with rather encourage and enable them to understand that you are with them.
It would show them that I see you. You know, there's this story of the hero journey. The hero go through suffering, go through trials, leave the old version of themselves, leave the old environment and become someone else. And that whole process of suffering takes you through this emotional turmoil. I promise you, this hero is crying. You will watch movie and you see the storyline. The hero, the main actor or character goes through so much. Life would compress you, would test you, would strain you, would test you to say, can you lead this family the way you think you are? And so if you are a man in this family who is the leader of this family, and you all you want to show your family is that you're strong, I want to ask you, who is holding you when you're generally not strong? Because I know you're not strong all the time. Who is holding you? And if, let me tell you this, if you can show your family the two sides, the powerful side of you as a leader and the human side of you breaking down, they would have so much respect and they would be able to support you when you are paving the way for them. And that is why a lot of our men, because of societal expectation, they end up on drugs. They end up on doing things they have no business doing because the society, family have never created a safe space for them. For me, when I go to my family when in the UK, when we have family reunion, Babla, gather all the men will be there. This is what I do. I gather all the men and I start speaking over the men and laying my hands over the men and telling them that you are allowed to fail. You are allowed to make mistakes as well. This is your safe space. We, the women, we are here to cover you, to hold you, because we know that after this meeting, you're going to go out in the world and you're going to be trailblazing for us in family. And so right here, we speak life. We cover you. We give you permission to break down. And you see my mighty men in the family will break down and cry. But Babla, there's one thing that happens after that cry. They wake up as warriors. They wake up new to go conquer and conquer with new strength, new understanding, knowing that they are not out there by themselves. And so that's where I want us as women to create this safe space for men.
Right.
Don't tear them apart. Don't criticize them all the time. Speak to them in an emotionally intelligent way. That's why a lot of men want feminine women, women that are soft. But African thing is, you know, they confuse submissive and feminine women with all these words. They, oh, men want me to be submissive. That's not the point. Men want to feel safe, to be powerful, as well as when they can break down and you don't take them for granted or disrespect them. That's the only way you can go, a man can go out and be powerful. And I believe that that's what Michelle Obama gave Obama. For him to be able to blaze a trail that has never happened before in America, and not only that, be an emotionally intelligent man in the highest office of leadership and wipe it here when it is necessary and still remain a powerful man. And so if we study him, he is such an emotionally mature leader. And that is what I am hoping that this generation of men will begin to do. I promise you, our society would prosper, our families would prosper, because we are not seeing just one aspect of the humanity of a man, but we're seeing a wholesomeness of what a man is made of, and we can support them. And not only that, we know they see us and they know they see us. There's something powerful about seeing each other.
All right, Dylis, permit me to interrupt you a little bit. We are running out of time. I want you to talk to me about Love Lab. You have created a laboratory for love, a reality show. Why a love lab? And what is the message you're communicating through that?
I mean, that's a good question. I like how you put it, Love Lab. It's really exactly everything we've been talking about today. It's a safe space where people come and they are allowed to be fully human beings. It's a safe space when they come, they're allowed to ask questions they were never able to ask before. They're allowed to reflect, they're allowed to see themselves, they're allowed to interact, knowing that it's safe for them. And the people are gonna see it on the screen. You see this young man tapping into the power of their pain, but yet hopeful for tomorrow, allowing their stories to inspire them, allowing their own story, allowing their own journey. The very thing that limits young people, the very thing that makes young people to stop. You will see these young men and women using that difficult stories and difficult childhood to inspire and motivate them to decide to want love for their life. And I believe that if we create space for love, everything else we do can only multiply and expand. And it is my hope that this conversation will come to the front in Cameroon and we will begin to talk more. If you watch the show, you will see more young men, they're crying, more young men, they're being vulnerable, because the power to being emotionally mature, intelligent is through vulnerability. And that's what the show is really about. I am hoping that it will open avenues of prosperity and wealth and creativity, and young people fulfilling their dreams in a very just unconventional way, where they tap into their own power, the power of their story, and the power of their humanity.
How can Cameroonians have access to Love Lab?
Love Lab is going to be released on the 6th of June, in just a week from now. And it would be on YouTube. The YouTube channel is called The Love Lab Show TV. We cannot wait for everyone to watch it. You would fall in love with it. You will see yourself in it. And you would be invited to sit with yourself and ask questions, and also be challenged to go out there and look for love for yourself, for those that have given up on love.
I'm already in love with it.
I'm so glad.
All right, let's take some interviews now. We'll be back in a moment to wrap up this edition of The Inside. Interviews of the week.
Cameroonians must be serious. It is not the Pope who had to leave Rome to come and tell us to live in peace. We ourselves must know that we need peace. And everybody, whether in the government, whether in the church, whether in civil society, we must do everything that peace and justice reigns among us. And this is what I'm saying, that this week that the bishops are gathered here, they are going to study all the ways to see how to implement the recommendations of the Holy Father. Peace is not a decree. Peace is lived. And we must look at ways for Cameroonians to live in peace. And you hear one of the things the Pope said there: to have peace, listen to your citizens. The state must listen to the citizens. And this is very important for all of us. Listen to the citizens. The state cannot live as if citizens don't exist. Listen to the citizens. This is a big recommendation of the Pope. And I think during our work, even in the church, we are going to be studying how to listen to our people. This is an implementation of synodality. Listen, listen. And the church, we have to look for ways to also listen. Thank you very much.
We've been in this institution for over 3 to 4 months without water and electricity. Life has been so difficult. We want to say thank you personally, because that your report from Equinoxe has given a very, very drastic change into our life that we will never forget. Because immediately you did that report, one goodwill person from America, Mr. Taku Allen, came and installed solar energy in the center. That lighting issue has affected the whole ICT units. All the computers are bad. They are bad because there was no power to turn them. You see the toilets in the boys' dormitory. The toilets are those ancient, since it was created in 1980. They haven't been renovated. The tables that were used since 1980 are the same tables that the teachers are using now. Philanthropists and donors far and near in the diaspora, those who are watching us, as we plead with you, that you should please give a helping hand to the rehabilitation institute. So what the government gives is a bit limited, that we will not hesitate to welcome those who wish to support.
Be it the government or other institutions of the Republic, associations, religious denominations, traditional authorities, civil society organizations, or every individual member of the national community, each and every one of us has a responsibility to play our part in prevention.
We are in the process of elaborating a specific law on gender-based violence. and the process is sufficiently advanced, and we hope that that project will reach the Parliament during the next session. It is our hope, because we have worked for several months now.
The ministry insists on special vigilance on our children when they are handed to us on campus. The ministry insists that parents should know who they hand their children to. Preferably, they should accompany these children themselves and not give middlemen. They should pick up the children themselves and also indicate to school administration who comes to take the child and who drops the child off.
Right, you're welcome back. Dylis CHI, let's wrap up with this question. What role does decision making play in achieving personal and national development?
Oh, decision making is, I would just say to like myself, Dylis, look at your life. Your life is made up of decisions you've made. We are here today because I made a decision, you made a decision. And I'm meeting you, I am tapping into your energy, I'm tapping into the energy of the studio, of your team. I'm taking it in, it's inspiring me, it's challenging me. It's just being here with you is opening me up, and I am thinking, oh my God, where can I grow more and where can I be challenged more in my life? And so if I looked at this decision and said, oh, it was a bad decision, it makes me want to think like, oh, that wasn't so good. How can I grow myself? How can I evolve so I can make better decisions? So decision making, it's so powerful. You create your life based on decisions every day. Me and you created this moment because we made a decision. And people watching are going to be inspired to change their entire life because they made a decision to watch. And so decision making is not just powerful, but when we add reflection on it, it becomes even more powerful. If we are able to sit down and reflect over our decisions in the past week, and we see how can we make better decisions? What would I have done in that decision? How do I need to grow to have a deeper understanding so I can make decisions that would put me where I want to be, put me where I'm joyful, where I'm growing, where, so it is so important in our development if we have the courage to reflect and to look back and see how we're creating our lives decision at a time, one decision at a time.
What practical steps can individuals take to improve on their emotional intelligence and decision making?
I would say practical step, reach out, get a mentor. The easy one, get a mentor, reach out, get a coach. Text to people, hey, this is what I want. Tell them what you want to achieve. You don't have to pay for a coach all the time. Just reach out. There are people who are coaches, who are mentors, big people that are willing to mentor people, but the people are not coming forth. So number one, I would say, be intentional about looking for a coach. Go into people's DMs, ask them, please, can you coach me? Make sure you know exactly your outcome, what you want from them, and be willing to serve them as well. The other thing is, the next point I will give is become emotionally aware. Study yourself. Know what is, know when you are angry. Know your own pattern. Know where you become fearful, you become jealous of other people's work. Because, Babylon, I see us making excuses of envy in the culture, jealousy so much so that we're dragging each other down. That is just pure emotional, we're not emotionally mature. That's what that reveals in a society. And so if you are one that is really trying to work on that, just take a pen and paper, start journaling your emotions. How did I feel this morning? How you wake up in the morning, you write on your phone, how do you want to feel today? The people you're going to meet, how do you want them to make you feel? And then the next thing is, plan. Know that your relationships are going to have difficulties. Have you already planned on how to repair conflicts? Start thinking about it right now. If conflict happens, what is the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to breathe? Are you going to calm down? Are you going to say, I want to listen to your side? Are you going to apologize? Do you have a plan? So have a plan to repair your relationship. And the other one is just develop some empathy, feel what other people are feeling, And the last one is work on your communication. Communicate respectfully, communicate honestly, so that people know where you stand, and not in a rude way, so people can hear you and be able to support you on your journey.
Ms. Chi, thank you so much for your time and the insights you've shared with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's been such an amazing conversation. And I know that the listeners are going to really be inspired by it. And thank you so much for the opportunity and the work that you do and continue to do to shape culture, to shape the nation, and to shape the next generation. So grateful for your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. God bless Cameroon. God bless Africa. Goodbye.